calculated kiss the crystal chandeliers of the Grandview Hotel ballroom cast prismatic rainbows across the sea of designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. Damian Cross adjusted his bow tie for the third time in 10 minutes, his jaw clenched as he watched his ex-fiancée Victoria Sterling glide through the crowd like she owned the room, which, given her family's wealth, she practically did. "You're grinding your teeth again," his assistant whispered, appearing at his elbow with a champagne flute. "The photographers will notice." Damian accepted the drink but didn't sip it. He'd rather be anywhere else than at Victoria's annual charity gala, but his absence would only fuel more gossip about their spectacular breakup 6 months ago. The tech blogs were still dissecting every detail of how the power couple of Silicon Valley had imploded when Victoria discovered his company's latest acquisition would directly compete with her family's media empire. Mr. Cross, photographer, materialized from nowhere, camera flashing. "Any comment on the rumors about Nexus Industries' upcoming merger?" "It's no comment," Damian replied smoothly, his practiced smile never wavering. But his eyes searched the room, looking for an escape route from the vultures masquerading as society reporters. That's when he saw her, standing near the floor-to-ceiling windows. A woman in an elegant black dress held herself apart from the crowd. Her dark hair was pulled back in a sophisticated chignon, and something about her posture suggested she was as uncomfortable with the pretentious atmosphere as he was. More importantly, she was positioned perfectly in the sightline between him. In Victoria's table, an idea formed, reckless and impulsive. Everything his carefully calculated business mind usually rejected. But tonight, Damian was tired of being careful, tired of letting Victoria believe she'd broken him. He strode across the ballroom, his movement drawing curious glances. The woman at the window turned as he approached, revealing sharp green eyes and an expression of polite wariness. "I'm sorry," Damian said, not bothering with preamble, "but I need you to trust me for 30 seconds. Her eyebrows rose. "Excuse me? My ex-fiancé is watching. The press is circling, and I need to look like I've moved on." He stepped closer, noting the way her spine straightened. "One kiss, that's all. I'll make it worth your while, a donation to whatever cause you support." She studied his face with an intensity that made him wonder if she could see straight through his polished facade to the wounded pride beneath. For a moment, he thought she might slap him or simply walk away. Instead, she surprised him. "It's convincing," she said quietly. Damian didn't hesitate. He cupped her face in his hands and kissed her, soft at first, then deeper when she didn't pull away. The ballroom faded around them, the chatter, the clinking glasses, even the flash of cameras became background noise. She tasted like champagne and something uniquely her own, and when her hand came up to rest against his chest, he felt his pulse quicken in a way that had nothing to do with his calculated plan. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing harder than the brief encounter warranted. The woman, he realized with a start that he didn't even know her name, looked as stunned as he felt. "Thank you," he managed, suddenly aware that dozens of phones were pointed in their direction. She nodded, smoothing down her dress with hands that weren't quite steady. "I hope it was worth it, Mr. Cross." Before he could ask how she knew who he was, she melted back into the crowd, leaving him standing alone by the windows with the taste of her lipstick and a dozen questions on his lips. Morning headlines. Alina Reeves stared at her laptop screen in horror, her coffee growing cold as she scrolled through what felt like every major news outlet in the country. The headline on Tech Today made her stomach drop: Silicon Valley's hottest new power couple. Damian Cross spotted in passionate embrace with mystery woman. The photograph was everywhere, her face tilted up toward his hands framing her cheeks, both of them looking far more intimate than she remembered feeling in the moment. Worse, some enterprising photographer had captured the exact second their lips met, creating an image that screamed romance rather than the impulsive favor she'd thought she was granting. Her phone buzzed with its 15th call of the morning. This time it was her editor, James Hartwell, and she couldn't avoid him any longer. "Alina, please tell me you have a good explanation for why you're splashed across every gossip blog in America instead of working on the Blackwood expos." James's voice crackled through the speaker. "It's not what it looks like," she said, massaging her temples. I was at the charity gala gathering intel on Marcus Blackwood's financial dealings. Some desperate CEO used me as a prop to make his ex jealous. Some desperate CEO. Lena. That's Damian Cross of Nexus Industries. The man's worth $3 billion and just landed on Fortune's most eligible bachelor list. The internet is convinced you two are secretly dating. Alina pulled up her research files on Marcus Blackwood's 6 months of meticulous investigation into his company's suspicious offshore accounts and shell corporations. She'd been so close to getting the final piece of evidence she needed when Damian Cross had derailed everything with his spontaneous performance. James, I need you to run interference with the media. Tell them I'm not available for comment. I have to finish this Blackwood story before... Before what? Before your new boyfriend's lawyers shut us down? James interrupted. Alina, I've got 3 other reporters calling me this morning asking about Nexus Industries' upcoming merger. Word is spreading that you might have inside information through your relationship with Cross. There is no relationship, Alina snapped, then caught herself. Getting emotional wouldn't solve anything. Look, give me 48 hours to sort this out and get back on track with Blackwood. After hanging up, she tried to focus on her investigation. But every few minutes, another notification popped up on her phone. Social media was having a field day analyzing every detail of the photograph, her dress, their body language even. Speculation about where they might have met. By noon, 3 bouquets of flowers had arrived at her apartment, all with cards claiming to be from secret admirers inspired by the photo. Her neighbor knocked on the door, asking if she needed help carrying groceries, winking obviously when she mentioned the handsome boyfriend he'd seen in the papers. Alina was reaching her breaking point when her laptop chimed with a new email. The sender made her blood run cold. DC Ross at nexusindustries.com. Ms. Reeves, we need to talk. My office, 3 p.m. today. I assume you know the address? D. Cross P. S. Impressive work orchestrating last night's photo opportunity? Ambition Alina read the message twice, her confusion shifting to anger. Orchestrated? He thought she'd planned this disaster. She was the one suffering professional consequences. While he probably saw his stock price rise from the positive publicity, she fired back a response. Mr. Cross, I didn't orchestrate anything. You're the one who approached me, remember? But you're right, we do need to talk. I'll be there at 3. E. Reeves P.S. Next time you want to use someone as a publicity stunt, maybe get their consent in writing. As she hit send, Alina caught her reflection in her laptop screen. Dark circles under her eyes, hair escaping from yesterday's ponytail, and a grim expression that would have made her journalism professors proud. She looked like someone ready for a fight. Good. Because Damian Cross was about to learn that Alina Reeves didn't back down from anyone, even billionaire CEOs. With perfect jawlines and surprisingly soft lips, she had exactly 3 hours to prepare for what would either be the most professional conversation of her career or a complete disaster. Given how the last 24 hours had gone, she wasn't optimistic about which way it would fall. Confrontations and revelations. The 42nd floor of the Nexus Tower felt like stepping into the future. Lena's heels clicked against polished marble as she followed Damian's assistant through a maze of glass-walled conference rooms and sleek workstations. Every surface seemed to gleam under carefully positioned LED lighting, creating an atmosphere that was equal parts impressive and intimidating. Mr. Cross will see you now, the assistant said, opening double doors to reveal a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Damian stood with his back to the door, hands clasped behind him as he stared out at the skyline. He'd traded last night's tuxedo for a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than Elena's monthly rent. But his shoulders held the same tension she'd noticed at the gala. Punctual, he said without turning around. I respect that in a journalist. Cut the pleasantries, Cross. Alina set her bag down and crossed her arms. You dragged me here, so let's get this over with. What exactly do you think I orchestrated last night? He turned slowly, and Alina was struck again by how the camera hadn't captured the full intensity of his dark eyes. Don't insult my intelligence, Ms. Reeves. An investigative journalist just happens to be standing in the perfect position for photographs? You've been digging into Nexus Industries for months, looking for any angle to bring us down. Alina blinked. Genuinely confused? I've never investigated your company. I don't even know what Nexus Industries does besides throw around venture capital money. Really? Damien pulled out his phone and swiped through several screens, then explained these. He turned the device toward her, showing screenshots of financial documents and corporate filings. My security team traced several information requests. Back to your press credentials. Shell companies, offshore accounts, questionable partnerships sound familiar? Alina studied the documents, her journalist's eye-catching details that made her heart race. But not for the reasons Damien expected. These aren't about Nexus, she said slowly. These are about Blackwood Enterprises. What? Marcus Blackwood, he's the CEO I've been investigating for embezzlement and fraud. Alina pulled out her own phone, scrolling to her research files. Look at these account numbers. They're identical to what you just showed me. Damien moved. Closer, close enough that she caught his cologne as something expensive and understated. As he compared their documents, his expression shifted from suspicion to confusion. This doesn't make sense, he muttered. My team said these information requests were targeting Nexus specifically. Someone fed you false information, Alina realized. The same someone who's been feeding me false leads about Blackwood. Looked up at him, pieces of a larger puzzle starting to click into place. We're being played. Damien's jaw tightened. By whom? Think about it. Who benefits if both of us are distracted and discredited? You're dealing with media speculation. About your love life instead of business. I'm fielding gossip calls instead of investigating real corruption. Alina began pacing, her mind racing. Someone wanted us in that ballroom together last night. That's impossible. The kiss was spontaneous, my decision. Was it? You said your ex-fiancé was watching. Where exactly was she sitting? Damien pointed toward the seating chart still pulled up on his computer. Table 7, directly across from where you were standing. Alina studied the layout, comparing it to her own mental map of the evening. I was told Marcus Blackwood would be at table 12. That's why I positioned myself by those windows' perfect line of sight. But he never showed up. The silence stretched. Between them, as the implications sank in, someone had orchestrated their meeting. Knowing Damien's personality well enough to predict his impulsive reaction and understanding Alina's investigation methods enough to position her perfectly. Victoria, Damien said suddenly. She knew I'd be looking for a way to prove I'd moved on. And she has connections throughout the media industry. She could have planted those false stories about you investigating Nexus. No. Alina shook her head. This goes deeper than ex. Fiancé revenge. Someone has detailed knowledge of both our work patterns and personal triggers. Someone with access to corporate intelligence and media contacts. Damien's phone buzzed with an incoming call. Glanced at the screen and frowned. It's my PR director. Vivian Chen. She's been handling the media fallout from last night. He answered on speaker. Vivian, I'm in a meeting. The Chronicle just called for comment on a story linking you to several offshore shell companies. They're claiming Alina Reeves has been feeding them information about Nexus's questionable financial practices. Elena's blood ran cold. Those were the exact same shell companies she'd been tracking in connection to Blackwood's money laundering operation. That's impossible, Damien said, his eyes locked on Elena's. Where did they get this information? I'm not sure, but we need to do damage control immediately. I can schedule a press conference for tomorrow morning to address these. Legations directly. Alina grabbed Damien's arm, shaking her head frantically. Something about Vivian's helpful concern felt wrong, too convenient, too perfectly timed. Actually, Vivian, Damien said slowly, let me call you back. I need to verify some information first. After he hung up, Alina voiced what they were both thinking. Your PR director has been remarkably well informed about a story that supposedly just broke. The puppet master exposed Lani's fingers flew across her laptop keyboard as she sat in Damien's conference room, surrounded by financial documents and coffee cups from their impromptu all-night investigation. The city lights twinkled beyond the windows, but neither of them had noticed the sun setting hours ago. Got it, she said, pointing to her screen. Vivian Chen incorporated 3 shell companies in the Cayman Islands 18 months ago, the same time frame when Marcus Blackwood's suspicious transactions began. Damien looked up from his own laptop, exhaustion and betrayal warring across his features. She's been with Nexus for 5 years. I trusted her with everything board. Meetings, strategic planning, even personal matters. He rubbed his temples. God, she knew exactly how I'd react to seeing Victoria last night. And she knew I'd be investigating Marcus because she's been feeding me information for months. Elena pulled up her encrypted communications folder. Look at these anonymous tips I received about Blackwood's offshore accounts. I thought I had a source inside his company, but the metadata traces back to ... She ran a program and waited for the results. Nexus Industries. She's been playing both sides, Damien realized, feeding you real information about Marcus while simultaneously making it look like you were investigating me. Elena's phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it and her face went pale. It's from my anonymous source, the one who's been helping with the Blackwood investigation. They want to meet tonight. Pier 47, Warehouse District. That's a setup, Damien said immediately. After everything we've discovered, you can't seriously be considering I have to. This could be the missing piece we need to expose the whole conspiracy. Elena was already gathering her things. Besides, I'm not going alone. You're coming with me. Absolutely not. We should turn this over to the authorities with what proof? Everything we have is circumstantial. We need evidence of direct communication between Vivian and Marcus, or recorded proof of their coordination. Elena met his eyes. One of us has to take the risk. An hour later, they sat in Damien's Tesla in the shadows of Pier 47, watching a figure in a dark coat pace near the entrance to Warehouse 12. The fog rolling in from the bay made visibility poor, but Elena could make out enough details to confirm her suspicions. That's not Marcus, she whispered. It's Vivian. Through the windshield, they watched as another figure approached, tall, expensive suit, confident stride. Marcus Blackwood emerged from behind a shipping container like he owned the waterfront. Damien activated his phone's recording app and rolled down the window slightly. The sound quality was poor, but they could make out fragments of the conversation. Double quotes. ... Cross is getting suspicious. ... Vivian's voice carried on the night air. Double quotes. ... The journalist is asking too many questions about the shell companies. ... Then we accelerate the timeline, Marcus replied. Tomorrow morning, leaked the doctored financial records showing the money trail leads directly to Nexus. By the time they figure out the truth, the SEC investigation will have already destroyed Cross's reputation. And the journalist, Lena Reeves, has been useful, but she served her purpose. Once she publishes the story implicating Nexus, her credibility will be shot when the truth comes out. 2 careers destroyed with one perfectly orchestrated scandal. Lena felt sick. She'd been so focused on exposing corruption that she'd missed the signs of being manipulated herself. Every lead, every source, every seemingly lucky break in her investigation had been carefully orchestrated. There's just one problem, Vivian continued. They're working together now. The kiss created an unexpected alliance. Marcus's laugh was cold. Then we'll use that against them too. Star-crossed lovers brought down by their own ambition, the media will eat it up. What about the offshore accounts? The real money trail? Will disappear into cryptocurrency by morning. I've already started liquidating the holdings. By the time anyone traces the accounts back to us, the evidence will be digital vapor. Damien's hand tightened on Elena's arm. They had enough. But as he reached to start the car, his phone slipped from the window ledge. Clattering onto the asphalt below, both figures at the warehouse turned toward the sound. Go, Elena whispered urgently. Go now. Damien gunned the engine, tires squealing as they pulled away from the pier. In the rearview mirror, Elena could see Marcus and Vivian running toward where the Tesla had been parked. Their careful conspiracy. Suddenly exposed? They know we were listening, Damien said, weaving through the narrow waterfront streets. We'll destroy the evidence, disappear the money. Not if we move fast enough. Elena was already dialing her editor. James, I need you to put together an emergency digital edition. Get our legal team on standby. we're about to publish the biggest corporate conspiracy story of the decade. The city center Alina felt a mixture of vindication and regret. She'd finally found her story, but the cost had been higher than she'd expected. Trust, reputation, and something else, something that felt dangerously close to the connection she'd felt during that impulsive kiss 24 hours ago. "Whatever happens next," Damien said, glancing at her as they pulled into the Nexus building's garage, "we face it together." Alina nodded. Knowing that the real test of their unlikely partnership was just beginning, truth and redemption. The Nexus Industries press room had never seen anything like it. Camera crews from every major network jostled for position while reporters filled every available seat, their voices creating a buzz of anticipation that vibrated through the air. Alina stood at the side of the room, her press badge feeling heavier than usual as she watched Damien adjust the microphone at the podium. 12 hours had passed since their escape from the warehouse. 12 hours of frantic phone calls, emergency, legal consultations, and a coordinated effort between Elena's newspaper and Damien's crisis management team to prepare for this moment. The cryptocurrency transfers Marcus had initiated were frozen by federal order. The shell companies were under investigation. Both Vivian Chen and Marcus Blackwood were in FBI custody, but the court of public opinion still needed convincing. "Ladies and gentlemen," Damien began, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what he was about to reveal. 2 days ago, a photograph of Ms. Alina Reeves and myself appeared across media outlets, spawning speculation about our relationship. "What day?" "I'm here to tell you the truth about that photograph, about a conspiracy that threatened both our careers and the integrity of several major corporations." He gestured toward Alina, who stepped forward to join him at the podium. The camera flashes intensified, but she kept her eyes focused on Damien's face, drawing strength from the quiet confidence she saw there. "The kiss you saw was spontaneous and unplanned," Alina said into the microphone. "But what followed was anything but accidental. We were manipulated by individuals who understood our professional vulnerabilities and personal histories well enough to orchestrate our meeting for their own purposes." She outlined the conspiracy methodically: Vivian's access to Nexus's strategic information, her coordination with Marcus Blackwood, the deliberate misdirection of Elena's investigation, and the plan to destroy both their reputations using the media attention from their supposed relationship. "We have recorded evidence of this conspiracy," Damien added, "which has been turned over to federal investigators. The offshore accounts in question contained funds stolen from Blackwood Enterprises' pension fund, money belonging to thousands of hardworking employees who trusted their company with their futures." A reporter in the front row raised her hand. "Mr. Cross, how do we know this isn't an elaborate cover-up for your own involvement in these financial irregularities?" "Because," Alina interjected, "I've spent the last 6 months investigating these transactions independently. My newspaper's forensic accounting team has verified that none of the suspicious funds ever touched Nexus Industries accounts. The evidence trail leads directly to Marcus Blackwood and his co-conspirators." Another reporter called out, "Ms. Reeves? Some are questioning whether your relationship with Mr. Cross compromises your objectivity in reporting this story." Alina felt Damien tense beside her, but she'd been expecting this question. That's exactly what the conspirators were counting on, that professional ethics would prevent us from working together to expose the truth. "But I'm not reporting this story for my newspaper. I'm standing here as a witness to a crime, nothing more. The real story," Damien continued, "is being published simultaneously by 3 independent news organizations who verified our evidence through their own sources. This isn't about protecting reputations, it's about protecting the thousands of people whose retirement funds were stolen." As the press conference continued, Alina found herself watching Damien with a mixture of professional admiration and something more personal. He fielded hostile questions with the same measured confidence he'd shown in his office. But she could see the cost of the last few days in the slight lines around his eyes and the careful way he chose each word. When the formal questions ended, a reporter from Tech Today stood up. "One final question, are you two actually dating?" The room fell silent. Alina felt her cheeks warm as she glanced at Damien, remembering the taste of champagne and the unexpected gentleness of his hands against her face. "We were double," quotes Damien started, then looked at her with a question in his eyes. "We're figuring it out," Alina said honestly. "This week has shown us that we work well together under pressure. Whether that translates to anything beyond professional respect remains to be seen." After the cameras stopped rolling and the reporters dispersed, Alina and Damien found themselves alone in his office once again. The city stretched out below them, but the view felt different, now less intimidating, more like a shared horizon. "So," Damien said, loosening his tie, "that went better than expected. The stock market seems to agree." Alina nodded toward his computer screen, where Nexus Industries' share price was climbing steadily. "Nothing like a good conspiracy story. To restore investor confidence, Alina?" He turned serious, moving closer to where she stood by the windows. "About what you said down there about figuring it out?" "I meant it." She met his eyes directly. "This whole mess started with a kiss meant to prove you'd moved on from your ex. But somewhere between corporate espionage and federal investigations, I think we both discovered something neither of us was looking for." "And what's that?" Lena smiled. "Thinking about trust earned under pressure and partnerships forged in crisis. That sometimes the best stories are the ones that write themselves. When Damien kissed her this time, there were no cameras, no ulterior motives, and no audience except the setting sun painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. Two people who'd found something real in the midst of a carefully orchestrated lie. The conspiracy was over. But their story was just beginning.